Welcome to episode 3 of No Ceilings with Coach Yo podcast. Today is a special day because not only because it's Monday, Mondays are my favorite day of the week, bar none, because I just feel like I get a new lease on my week. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited being back in Oxford. I have a special guest to my left, your right, for my YouTube partners. And before I introduce her and talk about what our topic would be about today, I just wanted to touch on a few housekeeping things. Obviously, I have my producer, Graham Doty, in the back, and Ed Mahan, my video coordinator, that make the seasons bright for all of us. As you can hear in my voice, I'm a little sick. The weather has been changing. We've been in Florida and then back, and then Dr. Josie's voice, she gave me this sickness. No. She had it too, and so just bear with us with our little rasp. But we've decided that that has given us like a different sound, like a winter sound. We'll go with that. Like,
you never know what you're gonna get with Coach
that's
Yo.
what I'm saying. But I've been fighting it, and I don't have a voice because I've been shouting all weekend with 2 games back to back. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review on any and all major listening streams, podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Hop on, whether it's Apple or the other devices. Go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review. I'm also on YouTube. It's No Ceilings with Coach Yo. You just type it in, and you can find the live sessions here for us. Quick recap. Last time I talked, it was Veterans Day. That's when we recorded. Today is live in-house, and since then, we have signed a pretty good recruiting class to people in the country. It's ranked 13th. To me, it's number 1 because it's players that we needed. We were able to sign 4 young ladies. Madison Scott from Maryland. We got Caitlin McGee from Jacksonville, Florida. We have Celentiana, but we call her Snudda Collins from Brookhaven, Mississippi. And then we have Jacoria Bracy from Mississippi as well. And that rounds off our recruiting class thus far. We're excited about them. It's a step headed in the right direction with my young program. That will be my first class, our first class that we've been able to really spend a year and recruit. So we know where we're getting with them, and it's just moving us a step further where we're trying to go. So far, the season has had its ups and downs, which is to be expected with my young group. We are 5-3. We split in Daytona versus Alcorn State, and then we a win there, and then we lost to Pitt in a close one down in Daytona. A lot of learning lessons for not only my players but myself and my staff, and we're just finding ways to get better and grow every time we step out on the floor. Usually when you have a young team, that is essentially what it is. You gotta stay with it. You can't assume that they know. You have to teach. I got this from Frank Martin. It says, instead of being angry, teach. Because the thing about experience is they don't know what they don't know. So my players are at that spot, but I enjoy my group. Had some adversity came our way. Sarah tore ACL, and she's out from the season. These are things that teams have to go through during the course of seasons, and unfortunately we got bit with that injury, and so we're wishing her the best, but You know, like I tell my players all the time, one thing that is undefeated is time. Time waits for no one. And so we have our SEC Big 12 Challenge on December 4th. We play Texas Tech at Texas Tech. High-powered offensive group. Reminds me a lot of Arkansas. So this will be a great opportunity for us to come out and strategize and game plan for a team that loves to fill it up on the offensive end. And so I think that's it. I think that's my recap. Life's good. My parents are back in the Bahamas. There have been upsets all over the country, but that's what basketball is about. And so we have been a part of the upsets that I'm actually still sick about. But, you know, as a coach, we ask our players to move on, and you know, as a coach, we have to do the same. So in-house today, we have our special guest, Dr. Josie Nicholson, licensed sports psychologist, certified mental performance consultant. Woo! I had to, that took a lot out of me. Josie, we're excited to have you here. Josie, we need to get one of those clapping things. Yeah, round of applause for Josie. Josie works with really closely with my program, but many on campus. And Josie, welcome to the No Ceilings with Coach Yo podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Hear my voice.
Yeah. This was a highly requested topic.
Okay.
You know, when I ask people for feedback on what to talk about for this season, they said mental health, mental performance. There are many college coaches that don't understand, don't know, want to understand, want to get ahead of this. Because if not, then you're going to get left behind.
For sure.
So, first of all, when I talk about your title, licensed sports psychologist, certified mental performance coach, can you tell the listeners and the viewers what that is?
Absolutely. So, I'm a licensed psychologist, which means I have a doctorate in counseling psychology. Went to school for a very long time, trying to pay off those loans. And so I am licensed as a psychologist to deal with mental health issues. So anything from depression, anxiety, homesickness, roommate issues, disordered eating, bipolar, anything mental health related. But then I also am specially trained in performance enhancement. That's the sports psychology side of it. And being able to handle anything that has to do with the mental side of the game, whether it's concentration, focus, confidence, you know, communication, all that sort of stuff. There's an organization that offers a certification as a mental performance consultant, and that's the Association for Applied Psychology. So I have that certification on top of my licensure.
Well, you have helped us a lot with it. Doctor, I call her Josie, guys. Josie meets with our team before every game, home game, and for 10 minutes, and does practices with mental performance, and just, I think it's really helped our players. They've talked about how much they have enjoyed it. So I know that means a lot to our group, and we're thankful for you. Now, this whole mental health phenomenon, or I don't know what to call it other than that, it has taken off. You know,
sure.
You have professional players talking about it. You have I mean, it's been around forever, but now that professional and collegiate athletes have been speaking on it, it has gotten the attention of a lot of people. And so, how did we get to this point of needing a mental health performance coach or consultant in athletics?
Well, I think that it's really just as a society, as a culture in general, like we've gotten if you look at college counseling centers, mental health clinics, they're all, the demand is so high. And I think, student athletes in particular, and athletes face a pressure that's very unlike when I was an athlete.
Just 5 years ago?
Just 5 years ago. It happens that quick. Social media has really brought with it really great things. This is one, right? But the constant connection, the constant pressure, the constant impression management. I often talk about thank goodness there's no digital record of when I was in college, right? And the mistakes that I made, and because you're supposed to be making these mistakes, and yet they're very permanent and they're very public now in a way that we have not had before. So the generation now has grown up with that, and has grown up with also the comparison piece. Like everything that I put out there on Instagram, I'm looking to see how many likes it has, how who comments on it, and how it measures up to other people posting similar things, and somebody always looks better, right? Than I see myself as. So I think that all of that plus the microcosm of athletics has created this pressure also. Our middle school and the young high schoolers are saying, okay, everything I do has to measure up to get me to the college level.
Wow.
And that is a lot of pressure for 13, 14, 15-year-olds to say, okay, if I don't play well, that could affect my chances, or this coach is going to be here, or I need this coach to see this, or I have to create a highlight reel all the time.
Wow.
So, that pressure, because again, it's just so different than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? That is true. Like when I think about just me coming up, I think we had MySpace at the time, but and I think Facebook was alive and well, maybe, I don't remember, but I know I didn't have a highlight tape. I know that I never cared about what anybody else was doing. The only time that I was exposed to that was when I would travel, just being born and raised in the Bahamas. So when I would travel and come to the United States, I was exposed to certain things like, oh, wow, this is another level of talent. This kid, I never knew about him. But as the world grows, it evolves. And pretty much this is the new norm now.
Yes.
My 2-year-old knows how to play games on her tablet, and so
I'm going to my 3-year-old for tech support.
Right. And so, my first question is like, with this social media, since I was going to talk about it a little bit later, but since we're on that topic right now, what do we say? Do we take social media away from people? Like, that's kind of unrealistic. So how does a student athlete cope in the world of social media?
Well, I think education is really important. Anything that is, really, really great can also, it all has its downsides too, right? So I think that's where we come in, trying to temper some of that. And it's not about taking away social media, it's about adding opportunity for actual connection,
right?
Because when you grow up with that, I think that it creates this perception that, oh, I'm super connected to my friends, I'm always talking, but you're missing so much of the nuances. There's actually studies that show that, texting with somebody does not create the same neural connectivity, as sitting face to face and connecting in a real way with somebody.
But how do you convince the adolescent that that's the case? Nowadays you have recruits that's the only way they want to communicate is through text.
Well, and think about that. That makes total sense, because they're growing up in a world where your image has to be controlled at all times. You're gonna how many selfies do they take before they pick one to post?
Right.
So how many times can they reconstruct that text before they hit send? I was hit send too early.
Me too.
So I think that just offering the opportunity, you can't convince, you know,
Yeah,
teenager, you can't
absolutely.
convince young kids of anything really. The other thing is that that instant gratification, and we're going to talk about this a little later,
Yeah.
I think, but like the constant connectivity and the likes and the feedback. So teenagers, the brain is set up so that the nucleus accumbens, the dopamine receptors are on high yield, so that reward center is the largest it will ever be. So it's true that,
and I know that's real.
yeah,
Doc, because sometimes, because I'm on social media a lot, I'll have to say, you know what, I'm gonna take a break.
yeah,
And it may be, you know, just a couple hours. It may be for the rest of the evening. But sometimes I just need to shut down.
for sure.
But I have self-control. I'm
Right.
older. I have perspective. Here we are dealing with teenagers. When I was a
Right.
teen, I didn't have perspective, you know. So
Right.
I'm just listening to you, and I'm like, whoa, this is real. This is real pressure that has been created because of a tool like the internet.
Right, for sure. And you look at, so in the teenage brain, the reward center is as rewarding as it ever, you know,
Yeah.
ice cream will never taste as good as
Right.
it did when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
Because those dopamine receptors are just on high alert, and that reward feels so good. But then it's coupled with prefrontal cortex and frontal cortex that's not fully developed, and that's the area that provides self-awareness and planning and judgment. Wow. So you've got high reward, low judgment, connecting, and that doesn't get fully formed until mid-20s, you know. So
Yeah.
and the other thing I think that's happening in some areas, not with every kid, but we are more and more, especially with elite athletes, protecting them from natural consequences so that learning doesn't take place.
Okay, so talk about that a little bit.
Okay,
'Cause
so
that's deep. Are you saying is that the smart way of saying we're coddling them?
maybe. I mean, I think that every parent wants to shield their child
Of course.
from and the consequences now can be so high stakes, right?
Yeah.
So like, you know,
But someone's recording it.
Yes, somebody's recording this. So when you have the stakes are really high. Gosh, if Coach Yo finds out about this and I'm a junior in high school, she could pull my scholarship and decide she doesn't want me.
Yeah.
Right? So the parents often, and also schools, they have their top performing athlete and they don't want them to fail a class, or they don't want them in a small town to go to jail, or you know, whatever it is. So they're protected, but they never experience those really negative consequences that can snap them back into saying, okay, I need to think about that again.
Right.
Before I do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we get into like coaches and stuff like that, since we're on the topic, because the first people that have these elite athletes, and now it seems like even the non-elite kids go through because of social media. Like, who decides who's elite anymore?
Right.
Because now I can make a video and I can look like I'm LeBron James, or you know, Candace Parker, or whomever. So
Armenti Price.
Armenti Price. Shout out to Coach Armenti. But as the people who have them first are the parents, right? The parents, the grassroots, high school, middle school, high school, AU coaches. So what advice do you have for them to help these kids? And even for me, I have a 2 and a 7-year-old. When they're coming up, can you give us some advice that can maybe help these kids?
So, gosh, parenting advice.
I mean, that's where it starts.
Yeah, of course it does. And I mean, it's so hard. I have 2 little ones, and I want to shield them from everything.
Yeah. And just from a mental health space.
Right. But I think listening and truly hearing and understanding that they are in a very different place. And, you know, I sometimes wonder what the things that I say to my child is going to sound like in 18 years to his therapist, right? But things like, you know, what were you doing? You don't see that? And like, no, they don't, because they have 10 years of experience to your 40.
Right.
You know, and so it's a little bit of an unfair question, but then also allowing them to experience the natural consequences and using those teachable moments to sit down and have some conversation,
Yeah.
provide opportunity to truly connect. You know, say, hey, you can have your friend over, but you're going to put your cell phones over here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you guys are actually, you
Yeah.
know, because I had a friend that was talking about her teenagers, and then people come over, they're both just sitting there on the phone.
Yeah.
And
And they're
it's
like, oh, we had a great time.
right. Right. So, you know, and I think also this is the hard piece. My kids are so special
Yeah.
to me.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
but helping them understand that everyone is special, and they don't have to stand out. They don't have to be more than what they are.
Yeah.
But really, you know, watching also what you praise. You know, we have a rule in my house.
Wow.
We have a rule in my house. We don't say, you know, you're a good boy, or, you know, be good, or you are good.
Yeah.
Do good things. Make
Yeah.
good choices.
I like
So,
that. I like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Being careful about what you praise, like, you know, oh, you're so smart. Well, how about, oh, you must work really hard to do that. Creating that growth mindset, you know. So hard.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, and that's who I think needs to be coached. It's the adults, because most times it's the adults that are causing the pressure. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
well, because we want our kids to be so successful.
oh, Doc, I remember we were on like a 2-game losing streak, and we lost to New Orleans, and then we were getting ready to play Southern Miss, and I had to tell the players, forget everything I said. There's no pressure. Just let's follow the game plan. I don't know if we're gonna win or lose. Just follow the game plan, and if we continue to get better, positive things will happen eventually.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was a point where I was putting pressure on them, and I had to like take a step back and not do it. And so, from a parenting or AAU coach standpoint, I think that is important to teach them that failure is real.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
everything is so dependent on outcome.
And,
You know, things aren't good unless you won or unless you scored, and
yeah.
there's very little emphasis on, man, you were really busting your butt out there in that game. I'm super proud of
Yeah,
you. You
yeah.
know?
But like, are we trying to do something? Are we asking parents to do something that, with the way society is, are we asking them to do something that is just sheer unrealistic now? Or can there still be that balance?
I think there absolutely can be. The other thing is the balance comes from checking my priorities. You know, like,
Yes.
you know, am I more invested in my kid being great at sports than they are?
Right.
You know, or would they be happier if they were, you know, a great friend or a great flautist
Or great student.
great student, or
Whatever.
yeah, or like, you know, if they were just a really hard worker.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important. Wow, that's powerful, because I think a lot of times, even myself, that's why I constantly self-check myself when I'm coaching. Why am I coaching? You know,
Yeah.
why am I upset? Am I upset because I'm embarrassed? Or am I upset because these kids are not following the game plan, so they're showing that they can't follow instruction when in life that will hurt them later on?
Right.
It depends on the perspective.
Yeah.
Because if I'm just upset because I'm embarrassed that they didn't follow it and because of that we lost, then I've totally lost my ministry and why I'm doing this.
Right.
And that's easy to do. You know, like any coach that's out there saying that sometimes they don't lose their why or their perspective is lying. But the ones that are really, really good, and the ones that have players come back to see them, and the ones that are connected and they're invited to weddings, and they're usually successful because of it, are the ones that keep their perspective intact more times than less.
Right.
Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, so now,
It's that relationship piece.
yeah,
So important.
and you still have to, you know, that's real. I could talk about that because I have my own philosophy on it, and that's why I say like coaching is my ministry, because I just think it's important to understand why I'm doing this. And since I have a couple degrees, and since I've been blessed to be educated, I cannot coach from a place of desperation, because the pressure that I put on players, I mean, it doesn't help.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, hearing coaches yell, we need a win or we need
Yeah.
these wins. It's like, need is a strong
Right.
word.
That's a very strong word. So imagine a parent.
Right.
You need to do this. You need to score. You need to.
You need to eat. You need shelter. You need love and belonging. You need these things.
Right. Like, what do we really need?
Right.
We need oxygen.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And
we need the exercise.
And you also need the love and acceptance that you're not getting in that moment where your outcome is being judged so harshly. As if, you saying, let's say you did, which I know you don't say, we need this win. Okay, well, what are you telling them? Either they're not doing their best or they need better than their best.
Right. That's wow. Man, Josie, I knew you were going to. Amen. I knew this podcast, this was the one I was waiting on, because we need to talk about this. Yeah. Now, many coaches use the word, and I hear it, and I've said it. I'm going to be transparent. For sure. All of a sudden, these kids come to college and they have all these issues. Where were these issues in high school? Why didn't anybody tell us about this? Can you talk about the stage that we get, the adolescent and their brain and where they're at? Because I was educated on this, and it floored me the other day. Yeah. So how come when they come to college, all of a sudden they need all this help?
So, a lot of different reasons. So it does go back to what I was saying earlier about the frontal cortex and all that, and prefrontal cortex that is involved in planning and self-awareness and judgment and making good decisions, not being fully formed. And that continues through adolescence, which is getting later and later, but mid-20s and stuff. And so you're still figuring out who you are. But think about this. When you first moved to Oxford, it took you a while to learn to get around.
Yes.
And you made some wrong turns, right? And you had to learn it all. And it felt really unnatural. When you think about let's say there are issues. And a lot of times the age around 18 to 24, around in there is where mental health issues start to emerge. So
how come? Why is
it's
that?
just part of the brain, the way the brain is, and that's just kind of when they start to emerge. But a lot of it has to do with stress. Transitions, you look at the top things that are stressful. They are getting married, getting divorced, buying a house, losing a house, moving, starting college, ending college. Transitions are just so stressful, even if they're good. So, when you came to Oxford, it took you a while to get your bearings, to get your footing, to figure out that, Kroger has this and Walmart doesn't, and, where do you want to go and figure out all that. So when you were in your routine back, where'd you move from? Jacksonville. When you were in Jacksonville, you had ways that you were able to compensate for any sort of deficits.
For sure.
And you had it built into your routine.
Absolutely.
Well, coming here, you had to figure all that out over again. So there's a safety net for college kids or high school kids and their parents. They have teachers, they have their go-tos, they have their friends, they have their routines. And so all of a sudden, the other thing is everything that they've done, assuming that they're in college as an athlete, has been geared towards getting them here. And so they have spent their adolescence building this image of what they're going to be like in college. They get to a point as a senior that they are top dog. So now not only are they having to navigate a brand new world, but they have new demands. They don't have their safety net. They don't have people that are going to look out for them or save them from this consequence or let them slide on this homework assignment, that sort of thing. And also, they're not top dog.
Right.
Everybody else is, is just as good as they are. And there's a whole senior class that's looking at them going, move my bags, freshie. That doesn't happen here. That would be hazing, but
no hazing.
No hazing. But you know what I mean. So of course. And then the other thing is that the stress is like, okay, well, here I am. I'm not the best anymore, and the demand is higher, and I don't have somebody cooking, do my laundry, or
Right.
you know, and a lot of our student athletes didn't
Right.
before, but they had their routine figured out.
Yeah.
And they got to keep their grades up too, and they've got to figure out what they want to be when they grow up. And there's all this pressure.
Wow.
Everybody wants a piece of them too.
Now let's talk about the student athlete. Let's. I don't know the numbers on this, but I do know that many student athletes do not come from environments. I don't know the percentage, but they come from environments where their normal is what to society really isn't normal.
Right.
So
In what ways?
like, as far as like some of them are coming up, they didn't have any parents.
Yep.
They were raised by their grandparents. Some of them had traumatic experiences
Very.
that happened at
Yep.
a young age. You know, athletes are talking about it. Whereas
For sure.
child molestation, especially with girls, you know, different traumatic things that have happened. Some, I've had players, not here, but I've been coaching 16 years, that have been homeless. All of these things that they've been carrying, and almost, is it that when they were in those stages, it was almost like a survival,
Yes, absolutely. So
and then when they come to college,
for sure.
they realize that, oh my God, that wasn't normal.
Right. So we know trauma changes the brain, and experiences are processed in a very different way.
Yeah.
And the emotional brain kind of takes over, and you just, going and getting there however you can, day by day.
Yeah, just survival.
You come to college, you've got all these resources.
Right.
And by the way, you can go talk to this person about it, right? And so, that opens up a whole new world, and it's great, but it's going to take some adjustment because you're looking around and I've heard so many kids go, it's really hard to see my teammates' parents at the game.
Oh yeah.
Because I've never had that, and I'm not going to have that. And the other thing is, they've grown up with it. They think it's normal. They get here and they're like, wow,
Yeah.
that's not the way I knew it could be.
Right.
And a sense of wistfulness, mourning, kind of sets in. And that could be really hard. And so it's like, they're giving me free clothes, and I have a place to sleep, and I have,
And they almost don't know how to take that sometimes.
No,
You know,
it's really
like,
hard.
if you give me this sweatsuit, what do you want in return?
Yep.
And then some coaches don't do a good job at it because they throw it in their face. I gave you this sweatsuit, and
Right.
and you gave me 2 points and no rebounds.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like we don't know the trauma that they've experienced.
No. And there's a sense
Wow.
too, like, you're earning all this.
Yeah.
So you got to keep it up.
Yeah.
And
Which
the
is
other-
fact.
It is.
But
fact. Yes.
this is why there are
Yeah.
mental health issues.
Right. Yeah. And so it's just, it's kind of a perfect storm. It's like all paths lead to this moment
Right.
when it's a bomb going on.
Yeah.
With like new experiences, new everything, and a new way to process this world. And there's also like all these authority figures that you have to learn how to trust.
Yeah.
And some of them, not so trustworthy.
Right. Right.
I'm not saying here.
Right.
But
that's just fact.
yeah.
Yeah. This is we're gonna be real here, Doc, on this because
But
that's
who's gonna see me? Who's gonna know me? Who's gonna hear me when I say this is hard?
I almost feel like if I had known I was going into coaching, I would have been a psychology major.
Go back.
I still think I'm a psychology major. I think I've gotten a lot of real hours
I think most coaches do.
figuring out how to keep our players afloat.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for coaches when dealing with these athletes? Because let's face it, we get 4 years out of their lives. But the 4 years we get is when the brain is maturing, and the brain realizes that my life was not normal.
Right.
even if they grew up spoiled and they realize that now they got to work for stuff. Like,
that's hard too.
people think mental health is you came from a poor situation.
Mm-mm.
No, you may have come from a privileged situation and now you got to earn something.
Or it's just biological. There's nothing.
It could be biological.
Nothing happened environmentally. It just is the brain.
Right. You could have been in a family of 6 and now you're here by yourself and you don't know how to share because you've been fending for yourself because you got 5 brothers that eat the food and now it's the society and it's all this. So give me and my colleagues some advice.
No pressure here. Well, I think the first is to take everything that you just said and realize that. Realize your role. Realize the importance of your role in these young people's lives at this very crucial time, and care.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing that I would say is just care.
Wow.
Not about the wins and losses, like your mantra. Wins and losses will
Well,
come
it
and go.
can't define me.
No, but you've got to teach them that it doesn't define them.
Yeah.
And what are wins and losses? A win is, acing a test you didn't, think you could be successful with or whatever. But, care about who they are and where they've been and where they're going.
I think, Josie, I think that is the number one. That is powerful. It seems simple. It seems simplistic, but it is powerful because if we can care about them, then you can help them navigate through.
Here's what makes it complicated. You got to care about them and keep your job.
There you go. So, I was getting ready to talk about that next.
Yeah, but that's hard, right? Like when your job depends on those wins and losses. I mean, there are other things, right? Like, but at some point, the outcome has to be one that feeds your family.
And I think that's why recruiting is important. Yeah. Because you have to recruit kids that have a balance, so to speak. Right. But in that perspective, and it's not only talent anymore. It's everything else because they're exposed to everything else. And I know that for me, my job has been more difficult as far as evaluating, not recruiting. Right. But evaluating my program, its state, what I can handle, what type of individual I can handle, and
and also
who can be there to assist them.
Endurance.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Especially in a program like this. If we were already built, that's a different type of stress.
Yeah.
But right now we're on the building stage, so it needs something totally different. Sure. And I think that that's important. We have to care, but then we have to keep our job. I know that there's been frustrations with your department and coaches, and just because of the confidentiality and all of that. Can you educate us, the viewers and the listeners, on that? Because I've gotten upset sometimes until I've been educated, and I think that knowledge is power. So please educate us on that.
You could still be upset.
Right.
I mean, I'm upset,
right.
And I know intimately. So a licensed psychologist has a mandate, an imperative. That is tied into my license, actually, but also tied into just the backbone of my profession of confidentiality, and it goes way beyond what would be for medical health. So if you go to a doctor and the doctor says, "Oh, you have this or that," you don't want that doctor at a party later talking to your boss and sharing your medical information. Right. Well, think about it with mental health, because the stigma is so strong. Right? That means that the information being shared with me does not belong with me. Right. Belong to me. It belongs to the person that shared it. So it has to be up to them what they share, when, and how, because they have the relationship with you. I have a different relationship with you. So their they need to be empowered to be able to share, just like you would share with me what you want to about yourself. Right. And so that is kind of the idea, is that it's there. But I think that's what makes it difficult, because here, I have a student athlete, they have an issue. I say, hey, you need to go to Dr. Nicholson. Once they go to Dr. Nicholson can't tell me, right,
about the issue and help me to navigate. And that's what I hope, that as this grows, that there can be more flexibility.
Right. So there is.
Because it's new, right? It's new right now, like as far as athletics.
As far as coaches having access to it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think I see what you're saying. So yes, any athlete can choose to sign a release of information that allows me to talk to you about, and they limit it. So they choose what I can talk about, what I, and some of them you can only say that, they're coming, and some of them like
you can go in depth.
Right, and that's up to them again. But I think the one thing that you said though, you said help you navigate. Now, I can't. I want it. So that's one piece of advice is to be coachable.
Yeah.
Which that's why you and I work so well together. Is that I can come in and we can butt heads and still be great friends and coworkers and stuff like that. But being able to say help you navigate certain things. Now, if you came to me and said, I don't know how to handle Sharon's moodiness. We don't have a Sharon.
I was like, where did she get that name from?
Yeah. All the Sharons out there, I'm not picking on you, but now nothing prohibits me from helping you. Because that's about you.
Yes, got it.
And so being able to ask the question in a way, like, you don't need to know what's going on with Sharon. You don't need to know that she is struggling to manage bipolar symptoms. You need to be able to say, I am. But we automatically say, man, Sharon's moody.
Right.
No, I am struggling with reaction. So how can I respond? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that creates a whole new, because now, but I think a lot of coaches, it's difficult to say, I don't know what to do, or I don't know how to coach this kid.
Yeah.
Because you are under so much pressure to be able to coach everybody.
Right.
And to also put out this image of, I got that, and so it can be really difficult for some coaches to say, hey, help me understand, help me, and the other thing is, sometimes coaches, will ask me, how do I deal with this player? And I've never seen them, I don't even know the player, but I can help. Yeah. So
right.
creating
So
that
instead of like just coming to you guys when it's an issue because of the kid, maybe we should want to get coached up by you just in general, And I think that is great. If you have coaches, if you have a certified mental performance coach or a counselor or somebody, it doesn't hurt to get ahead of the curve and know what you're dealing with and get some tidbits on how to go about it. I know for me, when I'm frustrated because of something, I seek knowledge because most times I'm frustrated because I don't understand.
But a lot of people, when they're frustrated, they seek power.
Right.
Because they feel helpless.
Right. Like you've heard me say, Doc, help me to understand because I'm pissed right now.
Yeah.
And so educate me on why I can't know such and such or do such and such. And I think if coaches, if we were to take that approach and seek knowledge, because usually once you explain it, I'm like, okay, I may not like it, but at least I understand.
But I do think that most people go to wanting power. And control when they don't understand, because it's a helpless feeling and it's threatening. And I do want to speak to one thing that you mentioned. If you have a so there's a difference between a licensed mental health professional, like a psychologist or a LPC counselor, or we have a licensed social worker on staff.
What's the difference?
And a certified mental performance coach. Your certified mental performance coach that does not have the licensure in mental health is not going to understand or be trained in, we say that, dealing with emotional pieces. And the individual, they're more on performance and the team
the approach
and how to help individuals maximize their athletic performance. So it's almost like if you're at a school with few resources, you don't have it would be better to seek out a counselor that was licensed than a certified mental performance coach
Right.
to say, how can I respond better rather than having this reaction, because they can help you with that,
Right.
as opposed to and understanding mental health issues or just emotions and that sort of piece.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that because I'm coming from JU,
Mhm.
and Doc, we ain't had a licensed sports psychologist, certified mental performance consultant. Okay, I don't know where it went a lot of licensures
Right.
that we had there, and
Yeah.
so for the coaches that don't have that, can you give some advice? Because let's be honest, everyone doesn't have you.
Absolutely.
You know.
So I think education, there's a lot of ways to get educated. There's, well, mental health first aid and QPR in some ways. There's a lot of ways to bring in and do a staff training and understand, yes, understand a little bit more. Like we had a staff training
Yep.
here. It was geared specifically to suicide prevention, but I'm hoping to do that every year with different
Yeah, it was great.
issues.
Yeah.
And so just understanding, because we are not the experts on our athletes. The
Yeah.
athletes are the experts on our athletes.
Right.
So being able to have that reminder that we need to listen more and hear where they're coming from, and have a framework to put that in with education. You know,
Sure.
that's the first piece. I think too, let's say you were in Jacksonville, there are people in areas. I know that for example, Mississippi, pretty rural,
Yeah.
not very populated.
Right.
I think I'm one of 2 CMPCs in the state.
Wow.
So I took a trip, and they just paid traveling expenses to go to Millsaps, for example. Small school, doesn't have a lot of resources.
Right.
I spoke with their athletes. Several coaches came, and it's just to start that dialogue. And I can help look into resources, and also looking at, if you're on a campus, for example, college campus, which I know there'll be some high school coaches too, but
Yeah.
okay, what does your campus offer? Okay, so is there somebody, and this is something that's very popular actually, is there somebody in the counseling center or in the school office that would be willing to do a little
Yeah.
extra training in the
Wow.
specific cultural nuances of athletics, to be able to be culturally competent to counsel our athletes and
Yeah.
consult to our staff.
And at the lower levels, we raise money for whatever is important to us. So I think that people would get behind
Yep.
something like a fundraiser like that if you're raising
Yes.
to be able to even bring in a couple times a year,
Right?
a licensed, certified, but
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying?
Yes, for sure.
And coaches, I'm telling you, if you have heard nothing from this, you listen to this. You must get ahead of this mental health performance because and certified counseling and whatnot. And so, start figuring out. Don't say you don't have it in the budget. Fundraise. People will get behind it. Send me your fundraiser. I will support you because I understand how important it is to have someone that is a professional in this area to even help you navigate how to go get through a season with your students. I mean, this is wow. This. We could talk for 2 more hours on this. We may have to bring you back for part 2.
Absolutely. One thing I will say is that the stigma around mental health is with athletes is there's a lot of different efforts going on that I won't get into to try to destigmatize it, but that starts with you. I know a lot of your players come to me, come to my coworker, and also talk to each other and talk to you and your staff because you guys are open.
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about it. There's nothing, there's
It's
nothing
real.
wrong with needing some help, right?
It's real.
And that has made a huge difference because people who take care of their mental health are better people, and better people make better athletes.
Right. And coaches, how about you seek out some too? Because because I know I have a life coach, and I have said to Josie, I said, Josie, this may be a rough season. I may have to come lay on your couch, you know, myself. And I just think it's important because we all are in this society. You know, my parents, my dad's 70 something, he's on social media 24/7. You know, my mom is on social media. We all are affected by this new age, this
Right.
new wave. It's this evolution. So, Doc, this has been great. I mean, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
This is powerful. I hope to my listeners, you guys have gotten a lot from this. If you have questions, can people find you on social media?
Yes.
I know you got your personal thing, but do you have like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
professional? Please give it to our listeners.
Well, I on Facebook. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I don't have Twitter.
Yeah.
My Instagram is Good Enough Momming.
Good enough, mommy. And then
Yeah.
on Facebook, what do you want?
It's a Rebel Sports Psych.
Rebel Sports Psych. And we're gonna get Josie a Twitter.
Okay.
Because you know what? I think you can change the game.
You know,
You gotta get
yeah.
on Twitter. You're
I
slacking
was-
on that.
I was on Twitter.
And what
and-
happened?
Well, I got a.
You played some illegal music and they banned you.
Well, I'm going to tell you what happened because it's kind of a funny story.
Okay.
I got a text at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night from my boss that was like, I had no idea you spoke Farsi. And I was like, what? And he's like, you are putting out some crazy stuff on Twitter. And I looked and it was all like,
You got hacked.
I got hacked and it was not appropriate.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I'm sorry, boss, that I will not post those things again. No, I let him know I didn't post those things. But it was so hard to disentangle me from that. But I tell you what, I will.
I'm just telling you,
I will.
Josie. I mean, look, I need you ahead of the
I'll
game
do it
too.
today.
Yeah. You know, Dr.
I'll do it
Josie,
today.
boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
And once I get it, I'm gonna retweet it
Yeah.
because you guys got and then just drop little tidbits.
Yep.
You
I
know,
love it,
because you're touching people, and this is your ministry too.
Yes, absolutely.
So shame on you if you're not hitting everybody. Doc, thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on. To my listeners and viewers, I hope you got a lot from this. This has been my most powerful podcast. I mean, it's my third one, but it is my most powerful.
Third's a charm, right?
Yes. Subscribe, rate, and review. Hopefully that you got something from this, and stay tuned to our next podcast, and it will be before Christmas. So signing out, Coach Yo, head coach at Ole Miss for Ole Miss women's basketball. No ceilings and hotty
Hotty
toddy.
toddy.